how I've marketed my talent is really, I've always been that person that really believes in serving first before I get something out of it. And then because of reciprocation, is that the next time they have a big event and they've got budget, they're obviously going to call me, they're obviously going to pay me because I have served them, I've given them something. Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Michelle Expert, and I hope that you're going to enjoy all the content that is on this channel and that is coming. So this is a very highly requested video, mainly because I did a questionnaire on Instagram. So I normally do these questionnaires where I'll ask people to tell me what they do and then I advertise it onto my stories so that they can get more business. And within that process, I got a couple of questions around my speaking career, and I decided to have a separate questionnaire to answer those questions. And then it was a lot of questions, so I decided that it would be so much better if I created a YouTube video so that I can actually thoroughly explain or answer the questions in a way that would be valuable to everybody that asked the questions. So I've got them on my phone over here, and I'm just going to answer. I'm hoping to answer all of them. There's quite a lot, but I also don't want the video to be quite long. And some of them were a little bit repetitive. So if I don't specifically answer your question, just kind of know that I have answered it within the other answers that I've already given from the questions that I got. Okay, so first question is, how does one start making it a career and getting clients? There is also another question saying, how did your speaking career start? So maybe let me kind of tell you guys how my speaking career started and then how you can actually begin to make it a career. So I've always been the person that speaks a lot. I've always invested a lot in how I present myself, particularly in front of people and the way that I speak. And I mean, in high school, I was a school president. So I was the one that gave all the speeches on the assembly, and as time grew, actually for quite a while I was not speaking. It actually happened incidentally. I'll tell you this. So when I was 18, a couple of years ago, I started a business, a deco and events company that really took a bit of a rise and then got me on social media and media platforms. And then with that business, I was then asked to come and speak at colleges and spaces about my business journey and just being a young person in business. And while that was happening, I then realized that, oh, wait a minute, this is actually becoming a career path that I need to invest in. And then I started investing in it like that. So for me, it was more a request. People were requesting me to do that. And then when people start requesting me to speak, I then realized that, okay, this is a career. This is something that a lot of people want me to do. So how do I capitalize on it and how do I make sure that I can make money from it? And then I started investing. So investing is, I didn't take any courses, but I started investing a lot of my time in books around language, how I speak, the presentation when I speak, how I say certain words, the tone of my voice when I speak to certain people, different tones for different rooms, how to engage a crowd, and that type of thing. And then that's how it eventually snowballed into a career that it is right now and a revenue stream. And then somebody asked, how do you manage a brand as big as yours? So my brand, I don't view my brand as being very, very big. I feel like I'm still like a micro influencer, nano, whatever it is. But I feel like I'm still small and I'm still growing. And how I manage that is by being intentional. I think this has been my biggest winning formula, is that I really am so intentional about the content that I put out and what I want people to actually see and get from the content that I put out. I'm intentional about the value that I want people to get. So because of that, it's easier to manage because I know what my values are. I know how I want to be presented online, and I know how I want to present myself online. I know how I want people to perceive me online, and I know how to kind of channel that. So yeah, but systems is how I manage my brand. And sometimes I do fall off. I'm not always consistent, like on YouTube or whatever platform it is, but I'm always just intentional about bringing value whenever I show up. So for me, that's very awesome. And then the other question is, what things must you consider when starting to build your social media presence? I think value is number one. You will get a lot of followers and people will come to you as long as you're giving value. That's such a big thing that people need to understand. And I always say that value is not always you teaching maths or you doing something supernatural. It could be like makeup, whatever, makeup tips, jokes, but make sure that whatever it is that you want to be known on social media for is something that people will be able to kind of spend time watching, because that's how people are going to consistently be coming back to your platforms. And you really can do that by the small things. Could be the way that you speak. You know, I do have a video on consistency. I do have a video on the X Factor on my channel. Go ahead and have a look, and that will kind of give you a bit of insight on how you can do that. But the things you must consider when starting to build your social media presence: value, number one. And then the other question is, how have you managed to build a professional brand and still remain true to yourself? I think more than anything, it's the professional brand is me. So I love what I represent my brand as. I don't wear a suit and then have an alter ego that rocks up when I'm on Instagram or when I'm on YouTube. This is me 24/7. This is how I am, and my struggles, whatever it is, I'm always keen and open to share all of that. So how I've always done that is just to be true to myself and authentic to my audience. I really believe that when you're authentic, you're able to kind of get the crowd that is going to vibe with you. And the crowd that's going to vibe with you is the crowd that's going to like you for really who you are, without you pretending, without you trying to be someone else. So authenticity for me is number one. And then the other question is, did you narrow your speaking engagements down to a specific niche? I actually have, and I've only done this recently. Before, I used to kind of be invited to speak to absolutely anything and everything, and I would go and do it. But when I started monetizing, I then had to narrow it down, because I can only charge what I charge for specific niches. So if you call me to come and speak at, I don't know what example I can use, but if you call me to come and speak at something else that is not particularly within my niche, it'll be hard for me to justify the kind of amounts that I charge you, because I invest into that specific niche, so that when I'm speaking in those stages, I'm quite knowledgeable and I know what I'm saying, and I can engage the people and I can engage the conversation to the level that is expected by a said client. So yes, I've definitely niched it down, but the niche is not too narrow, to be honest. I still do a couple of things on the side here and there that are not specifically down to that niche, but I do have kind of a surface level of the speaking engagements and the MC spaces that I want my brand to be associated with, and I usually just stick to that. And all right, and then the next question is, how do you position yourself as a brand? I think this is quite a loaded question, but to simplify it, how I would answer it is that you position yourself as a brand by sticking to what you want your brand to be known for, what you want to be, in the industry for, and then beginning to kind of lure in the people that you want to, or the brands that you want to eventually work with, or however you want to monetize that. But positioning is a very loaded question. Maybe we'll have a proper video in terms of talking about positioning as far as your brand is concerned, but put yourself in the eyes of the people that you want to pay you. If it's your audience, put yourself in the eyes of them. If it's companies, brands, put yourself in the eyes of them, but expose yourself and show what you do and how you do it to the people that are going to transact and make you the money that you want to actually make. And then the other question is, can one do speaking gigs without a YouTube channel or Instagram? What are other platforms to advertise? So you definitely can. I can tell you right now that at this present moment in time, the gigs that I get are people that don't even know that I have a YouTube channel. It's people that possibly I have spoken at an event and then they saw me and then they liked what I did, and then they recommended me for the next event. But you don't have to have a YouTube channel, but it really does help, because should you get recommended by somebody, the client would probably want to know, or probably want to see a video or something of you speaking in front of a camera, or just speaking, not necessarily in front of a camera, or just speaking, just so they can kind of see whether or not you kind of tie in with what they want to do. So it really does help to do some form of speaking somewhere, even if it's YouTube videos, even if it's Instagram Reels or YouTube Lives, but have something there that just shows that you are able to speak to people. And then the other question is, what do you need to get started with the speaking business? Does Christian content cut it? This is an interesting question. What do you need? I think you need to, what is important, which is what I've found, is that you need to just be very confident and to start. Am I answering this question correctly? What do you need to get started? You need confidence and you need clients. You need people that are willing to give you the platform to begin to speak. I share this a lot, and I know right now it's not the most famous advice, but I always say to people, it helps when you do things for free in the beginning, because those people will eventually refer you to somebody, or they will eventually pay you big money for that. And that is how I started. And I know there's a question they're asking, how did you start speaking? I'll kind of get into that, but you need to just be confident, number one. And number two is start building a clientele. Start going out there and start volunteering and start offering to speak, because then you will kind of have a couple of places that you've spoken at that can be references, not necessarily references, but you can have a bit of footage from there, or you can actually start working on your skill as well to your next speaking gigs. And then the other question is, how do people invite you to speak to events? I think that's the question. How do people invite me? They get hold of me on email. Sometimes it's on Instagram as well, but wherever my contact details, that's how they invite me. And usually it's always, oh, we heard from XYZ that you did their event and would like you to come and speak at ours. Or somebody refers me to them and then they call me, they say, we have referred you to X company and they would like you to MC or speak for their event. So that's how people get me to speak at the events. And then someone says, I need a whole YouTube video on this because I have all the questions about everything. Yeah, people sent a lot of questions with this topic. So let me just answer a bit more. Please advise on how you network/build business relationships with others, more so where to look, and also advise on brand building. My business growth has been slow. I believe there's something I'm missing. Yo, this is a loaded question, a very loaded question. So how do you network and build businesses and relationships? I have several videos on my channel. I'm going to link them down below. Please go have a look at that content because it's really, really helpful. And those are tips that I use myself each and every single day of my life, especially in the business world. And where to look also, the video. I literally am going to refer you to that video because it's going to be the best place you go to for anything like this. What was your first speaking gig and how did it feel? My first speaking gig was so nerve-wracking. Where did I speak first? I think I was invited by NYDA or some organization like that in 2018. That was like my real serious one that I was getting paid for. 2018, 2017, I think, I don't quite remember, but it was nerve-wracking. I was so nervous, but I nailed it because I think it was really in my niche and it was one of those things that I was like, okay, it was a great opportunity. I appreciated. And it also kind of opened me up to the fact that I really want to do this for a long time. That's how it felt, but it felt nerve-wracking and I was quite excited to do it. How did you build confidence? I've got a video on how you do that, but more than anything, it's practice. I always believe that the more you practice and the more you work on your craft, the more you actually are able to build confidence. And then the other question is, how does one build a career from speaking? Where do I start? I say start speaking, start hosting IG lives, start engaging with people a lot more because that's how you build the confidence. Start watching YouTube videos on how to speak and how to be a better speaker. And then when you're done, start volunteering to speak for free at space, even if it's small events or school events, whatever, but start volunteering to speak for free because that's how people are going to know that you're actually a speaker, is if they hear you from somewhere. Not if they see your post on Instagram that you're a speaker. They need to be able to have seen or heard you, and then eventually word of mouth does go, but start speaking. Start building the confidence, start working on the craft, and start speaking. And then the other question is, do you approach companies to invite you or they call you? How can one market their talent? How I've marketed my talent is really, I've always been that person that really believes in serving first before I get something out of it. So how I've always managed to market myself is I normally am always open to do free work. Literally, I'm always open to do free work. I'm always open to put my hand up and say, hey, if you guys have an event, I'd be happy to MC for free, or I'd be happy to facilitate for free. And usually it's always like a first small event that they invite me to and I do it for free. And then because of the law of reciprocation is that the next time they have a big event and they've got budget, they're obviously going to call me. They're obviously going to pay me because I have served them. I've given them something. So it makes them feel like they kind of owe me, and then they will eventually pay me. And then it's just a snowball of now me getting gigs from them and them referring me to another person, or the person that was at that event see me speaking and then they now are impressed. So because of that, it's just made it so much easier for me to get business. And I think I've kind of run through most of the questions because some were quite repeated, but that's kind of the nutshell of how I have built my speaking career. One of the most important thing that I leave you with in this video is that you need to be able to serve first, right? I think we are in such a generation that is caught up on send your rate card, send this, and you're a professional, you need to get paid. I think that's awesome, but you have to start somewhere, you have to build. And the more you serve, the more you're learning and your craft is becoming better. Like I know events I've spoken at like 2 years ago, and if they see me now, they'll be like, oh my gosh, you're so much better, you sound better, and all those things. So it becomes very important to realize that you can always work on your craft and you have to start somewhere. And sometimes starting somewhere is volunteering to speak at your work event, volunteering to speak at your friend's work event, so that you can begin to get the experience that you need to be able to build that profile, to build that confidence as well. So yeah, guys, I hope that I have answered. I know this was very quick, but I hope that I did answer some of the questions that you guys had in more detail. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please do go ahead and subscribe. I will see you guys in my next video. Have a good one. Goodbye.